Hi, it's Katrina. When it comes to space, we're already a little paranoid, but from real Martians on Mars to the global Galactic League of Nations, here are 6 secret space programs that might actually exist. Number 6. Solar Warden. A little background history here to start. While many feel that the government and NASA have been honest about their programs and projects to help expand the Space Exploration Initiative, not all were convinced. In fact, in 2002, a man named Gary McKinnon hacked into NASA and claimed to have found proof of extraterrestrial life, among other things. One of the things he supposedly found were space programs that were in use for a very long time. One of the first of which was the Solar Warden program. Now, while that is a cool name, its story is a bit ludicrous. Apparently, this is a fleet of starships about 48 strong, if not more, and its goal is to ensure that human life isn't abducted above normal quotas. Confused? Well, apparently in the 1950s, a group of malevolent aliens came to Earth and wanted to abduct some humans. A peace treaty was made between the aliens and the US, led by Dwight D. Eisenhower at the time as president, that only certain amounts of humans would be taken. In exchange, the US would be granted true military supremacy. Well, the aliens weren't living up to their end of the bargain, I guess, because the US started making Solar Warden as a space border patrol to ensure that only the allotted humans were taken. The program didn't technically launch until 1980, but if it's still there today, it's apparently done its job. I could easily break down all of the problems with this, including how one of the people who helped build the ships for Solar Warden was apparently receiving telepathic messages on how to build the ships, but I'll leave it to you. The aliens, when they decided to do the peace treaty, they were represented by Nazis, or so the accounts claim. Wrap your head around that one. Number 5. Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate. Going from weird to weirder, here's one supposed space program that's odd on virtually every level, yet there is evidence to suggest this actually is real. Lockheed Martin is an aerospace group that is really good at keeping secrets. But apparently, they teamed up with various other aerospace groups, including Northrop Grumman, to create the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate. Doesn't that sound fancy? So, what's the purpose of this group? Well, according to insiders, it's actually about trade, specifically trading with other alien races, which, if you believe the insiders, they're actually very successful at doing, because, in their own words, the ICC has already traded with 900 different alien species. 900! You might be asking at this point, why would so many alien species want to trade with Earth? What do we have to offer? Good question, and the answer is that apparently we as humans have a gift for engineering, and other alien species, especially ones that are at our level, appreciate that gift, and thus want to see what we make for themselves. So this all sounds pretty logical, right? With the exception of the ICC knowing 900 alien species. Well, here's where things get trippy. You see, the home base of the ICC, it's not on Earth, it's on Mars. Wait, it gets better. The workforce at this base? It's not volunteers, it's slave labor, specifically slaves that were taken from Earth in the 1980s and forced to live and work there. And if they had children, they're automatically conscripted to the cause. Doesn't give you a lot of hope for humanity, huh? The catch here in all of this was that there was a meeting in 2015 with the British Interplanetary Society, which is a real group, that talked about how to theoretically depose a Martian dictator, which would seemingly be a reference to the ICC's base on Mars. A few days before that meeting, the base was leaked via an insider. So if it isn't real, why did they talk about it? And now for number 4. But first, if you are new here, welcome! And be sure to subscribe before you leave. Number 4. The Dark Fleet. Let's head back to World War II for a second. Adolf Hitler was known for many things, but one thing that sometimes gets pushed to the side was his many beliefs. No, not the beliefs about which humans are superior, but rather the beliefs of what is real in our world. Hitler was huge into the occult, and more than that, he believed in aliens. And if certain testimonies are to be believed, the Nazis made contact with a species of aliens called the Draco in the 1930s. The history of the Draco is actually rather elaborate, so here's the gist. They're centrally located in the Orion constellation, they resemble reptilian humanoids of sorts, they're controlled by an artificial intelligence from another universe, and they're conquerors. No wonder they got along with the Nazis, am I right? So what is the Dark Fleet itself? It's ships made by the Draco but ran by the Germans. But they didn't get turned on Earth, but rather these Nazis are used to help defend and expand the Draco Empire, which is apparently quite substantial. So much so, the Empire is apparently under constant attack from more kinds of aliens that want to see their reign end. I don't really know what's going on. The big problem here is this. If the Draco were conquerors and they formed an alliance with the Nazis, why didn't they take over Earth? The Draco are known for their desire to have slaves from their conquered planets. Earth has billions, so why not take it over? Maybe that's why Hitler shot himself. They didn't want to play ball with him anymore. Number 3. Mars Defense Force. Mars has often been a subject of colonization. Numerous sci-fi TV series and movies, and even video games have held that Mars not only would be colonized, but it could thrive as a civilization, if left to its own devices and treated as an equal. So it shouldn't be a surprise that one of these supposed space programs is on Mars, and its goal is to protect 5 colonies that are currently there. Called the Mars Defense Force, which is another great name for such a program, the project was apparently greenlit by not one nation on Earth, but several, which makes sense in that if these 5 colonies were filled with people from all over Earth, then Earth should want to see them succeed, right? To that end, the Mars Defense Force has earned their keep, for apparently there really are Martians on Mars, and they didn't take too kindly to Earth planting colonies there. What are the odds? One insider to the program states that he was on Mars as part of the Defense Force for 17 years, and he fought both Martians and other aliens who came to attack the colony. Since he lived to tell the tale, that suggests that the colonies are still there and thriving. He even noted that the colonies have Earth-like ecosystems, and even has a lot of the class similarities that Earth has. Class similarities? I wonder what country he's referring to. Again, some of this does sound logical to an extent, but this insider also reveals that the people who serve on the Mars Defense Force have a certain stipulation in their contract. One that says that after 20 years of service, both on Mars and the Moon, which also has a base apparently, they're sent back in time to the day of their departure, have their memories wiped, are actually de-aged, and are told to go back to the lives they left. So not only do we have space travel and the ability to colonize other worlds, we have time travel here on Earth. Sure, why not? Number 2. Global Galactic League of Nations. Time for a history lesson. The League of Nations was an idea crafted by President Woodrow Wilson to unite the world in a single room to help ensure that things never escalated to the level of another world war. Sadly, it never really worked, but it did lead to the arrival of the United Nations. However, another League of Nations is apparently out there, or it was at one time, depending on who you believe. But this one wasn't concerned about the issues of the world. Rather, it was a group comprised of world leaders to study any and all UFOs that landed on Earth. Now, hopefully everyone here knows about the Roswell incident, but that wasn't the only documented UFO crashing in the world. Apparently, the Nazis got their hands on some ships during World War II that were found in the Himalayas. More than that, Stalin apparently found a UFO ship in Siberia and used its technology to create his own special ships. With so many countries apparently having UFOs, they created the Global Galactic League of Nations, tasked with coming together and sharing information on any UFOs found. The League was comprised mainly of Russia, Germany, the United States, China, and certain other members. What's more, if a UFO was found, it was agreed that it would be given to either the US or Russia, then the Soviet Union, for study, and both sides could ask the other to study it. Even more surprising is that this group survived the Cold War. Certain insiders claim that the Global Galactic League of Nations actually did theatrics during the Cold War to make them think that the US and Russia weren't working together, when in fact, they were on these craft. It does beg the question though, when the Soviet Union fell, was the reborn Russia still in the League? Number 1. The Earth Alliance. Okay, this is too good, and it actually builds upon certain things I've mentioned before, such as how many TV shows and movies and games have depicted certain space programs to build up their narrative and show how sci-fi their ideas are. Well, one of the ideas that was created in Babylon 5, my all-time favorite sci-fi series by the way, was the Earth Alliance. Except apparently that's not true. The Earth Alliance is very much real, and to hide its presence to the world, they leaked it to the writers of the show so that when conspiracy theorists mention it, they can claim they just copied Babylon 5 or other shows that possibly use the name. It's actually clever, using pop culture to dissuade the truth. But here's where it gets fun. Apparently, the Earth Alliance is a group that has been secretly fighting the war against many enemies, including the Illuminati. That name should ring a bell. This version of the Illuminati, though, are very dark in their goals. They use their influence and power to sow the seeds of death and destruction, and the Earth Alliance has tried to stop them for some time. Oh, and remember the Draco from a few entries back? Well, the Illuminati actually serve the Draco and have been in their service for centuries. Still not crazy enough for you? According to reports, the Earth Alliance actually supported President Donald Trump's election, and the moment he got elected, they began a campaign to root out all of the Draco and Illuminati bases that they knew of, including a secret fleet of Draco ships that just so happened to be in Antarctica. They sent their own armies to secret underground bases, some of which were hidden under FEMA camps, and rooted them out. As for that Draco fleet, the Earth Alliance has their own spaceships, of course, and the moment that fleet tried to leave, they rushed in, struck most of them down, and then left. The Earth Alliance uses its space bases and underground bases to continue fighting the evils of the Illuminati and the Draco. And though we may never get to thank them personally, we can take heart in knowing that they're trying to save us all. You know, if they actually existed. Thanks for watching! What do you think of these alleged space programs? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye!